Welcome to Deck Tech. We're going to build Helga Skittish Seer today. We're going to see how can we build Helga, the pretty awesome Bant frog from the new bloomburrow set. What does it take to build? What does it look like to price how to build? This build, I would say, is a mid-range build going for $500 to $600 depending on the market. I wouldn't say this is anywhere close to a CEDH build, and I wouldn't say this is a below average deck. This deck is going to do what it does best, which is counters, draw, and gain a little bit of life. If you're interested in checking out this entire deck, I will post a link to my Mox field. This is my Mox field, the Infinity Bros. We have a bunch of my decks on here, and I want to say that I am not a professional deck builder. I build decks that I think are fun. I build decks that do what they're supposed to do, but I'm not always building just to win. As much as I would love to win every single Commander game, that's just not a real possibility. But let's take a look at Helga Skittish Hydras is what I called it on my Mox field, because we have Helga and she taps for X, and we like tapping for X. So let's take a look at our commander here. Helga Skittish Seer. Whenever you cast a creature spell with mana value 4 or greater, you draw a card, gain 1 life, and put a 1/1 counter on Helga. Then you can tap Helga, add X mana of any one color, where X is Helga Skittish Seer's power. Spend this mana only to cast creature spells with mana value 4 or greater, or creature spells with X in their mana cost. So we're going to be spending mana on Helga to cast big freaking creatures or make big freaking Hydras, and in turn casting those big creatures will also keep pumping Helga, which also lets us draw more cards. For this deck, we only have one Planeswalker. I went with Kyora, Behemoth, Beckoner, -1 her, and untap target permanent, so you can untap your Helga. Pretty nice there. Also cares about casting big creatures, and you get to draw a card, running into the same symmetry that we like for this deck. A card that I just found out about, Abzan Falconeer. Each creature control with a 1/1 counter on it has flying. We're going to be putting a lot of counters on things. We're going to be throwing stuff like this into this deck because it's going to give our creatures other abilities. So Abzan Falconeer, giving our creatures with 1/1 counters, pretty much all of our Hydras and our commander flying. Kerrigan Drake, I really like because you get to play it at cost 5. It does cost a lot. Play a 2/3 flying Drake for 5. That's a lot of mana, but then you get to trigger Helga, draw a card, gain a life, and then you get to untap 5 lands again. So things we all like doing, right? It's a free card as long as you have the 5 mana to play it. Pride Malakin, same thing as Abzan Falconeer. We're going to play each creature control with a 1/1 counter on it has trample, and we like that. Troyan also cares about big creatures and taps for 2. A double tapping mana dork, we like that. Also, you can draw and discard a card. A lot of stuff going on with Troyan, but he just works in the deck, but has been in discussion, for me at least, on the cut block. Thrax's Sudden Storm, flash flying, spells you cast with mana value 5 or greater cost 1 less to cast, and can't be countered. The big thing I really likes with the Sudden Storm is can't be countered, because people know that we're going to be playing big creatures, and if we're playing big creatures, we don't want those big creatures to be countered. So having the Sudden Storm out there makes it kind of nice so that we don't get our stuff countered. Genesis Hydra, I'm running Hydras. You don't have to run Hydras. You could go just big creatures matter, but when you tap for X, whatever X is, as long as it's higher than that 4 mana cost, and they did do a ruling on this for Helga, you care about whatever you're paying. So you're not carrying, it doesn't count as 0. That was the big thing with Helga when she first came out was, well, X counts as 0 before you play it. But in rulings on the MTG official website, it does say that you care about how much it costs that you pay for X. So everything that has an X in it also can trigger Helga, and we like that. Abzan Battle Priest. We liked our Abzan Human Clerics and Human Soldiers. Each creature control with a 1/1 counter has lifelink. Just another little added bonus. Also costs 4, which hits our Helga trigger. So we like that. This one is actually not in the deck. I took this out. It has some 1/1 counter stuff. I wouldn't run it with 1/1 counters. I took this out of the deck. I have not updated that. We're just going to remove that right now. It says we have 99. We'll throw one of the cards from my sideboard on here. Forgotten Ancient, great counter help. We want to have that in the deck for sure. Hooded Hydra, pretty okay. But Hydras, when it dies, create a bunch of 1/1 snakes. We like that. Mikaeus is great. Mikaeus is either great for Helga, just giving Helga more help, or you can even put it on like an Esper Sentinel, which we also have in the deck. So Mikaeus, absolutely a must-add, I think, for any sort of build for Helga. Polychronis World Eater, I like him because you get to destroy stuff. It can become, if you pump it enough, can become a dang near board wipe for you. So it could be an option to win the game. Simulacrum, cost 4, triggers Helga, go get a land. We like that. The Goose Mother has excellent mana cost. Get all those 1/1 counters, and then you get a bunch of food tokens. So added stuff, and you get some card draw. We like it. Basswood Hydra, we like our Hydras. Rampaging Yao Guai. Same thing, 1/1 counters. We're going to do a lot of 1/1 counter things. I'm not going to go full in depth on all the 1/1 counter stuff, but you like the 1/1 counter things. Comedy of the Whispered Hopes, another one you need to have in here, so you can be adding more counters. Beast Whisperer, whenever you cast a creature spell, draw a card. We like drawing a card. And Gargoyle's Vicious Watcher, we like. Hydrocrassus, of course we like. Toski, of course we like. Your staples if you're running Hydras. Gyre Sage is awesome. Tap green to your mana pool for each 1/1 counter on Gyre Sage, and it has Evolve. And everything you bring in, as long as if you're tapping Helga for it, is going to make Gyre Sage and bigger. And well, we like that. Sarukan Goreclaw just works well, gives everything trample. We like that. Fanatic of Ronus also cares about big creatures. Tap for 4, so just giving you more options for your mana. Colonial Hydra, great Hydra. Earthshaker Giant has been kind of on my chopping block as well. Trample, but when it comes into play, does some work. And 3/3 to everything, and everything gains trample. So we like that. That's a nice big play for you. If it's iffy for me if I want to keep it in the deck or not. There's probably better options, but here, not a bad choice. Primordial Hydra. A Mockingbird is great. Copy any non-legendary creature, make 2 of them basically, but it has flying. I use this on my Esper Sentinel if I have it, which is a great move. Seaboard Muse, untap all of our stuff. Subtlety, a great way to get a 4-cost creature out there for free. We like that as well. Good stuff. Birds of Paradise, obviously gotta have a bop. Esper Sentinel, gotta have it. Solitude also triggers Helga. Subtlety and Solitude triggering Helga is big stuff. Grizzly Bill just works well with the deck. Double the number of 1/1 counters on each creature you control for 5. Double the number of 1/1 counters. You could do a lot with that. I still have Explorer in here. I still like Explorer. You get to play an extra land and you get to draw a turn. I enjoy Explorer, but I could understand people going for different ramp packages. Winds of Wrath, really good for us. Cost 5. It's a little more expensive, but with the amount of mana that I've been able to produce in this deck, we are not worried about high cost cards. If that's something you don't like, then you're probably not building Helga. But Winds of Wrath, destroy all creatures that aren't enchanted. All your 1/1 counters are enchantments. So you're destroying everything that doesn't have a 1/1 counter on it or an enchantment. So you're destroying a lot of the board, more than likely leaving you with the best board state. Kadama's Reach, obviously Nature's Lore 3 visits. Yep, we're going to keep all of those in. Nature's Chant, I like as an option. Destroy target artifact or enchantment. Get rid of those pesky enchantments that are messing with you. We got some of our counters, Negate, Strict Serenade, Sink into Stupor, Counterspell. We have some control, Swords to Plowshares, Path to Exile. I love Entis Restoration. I can understand people that don't like Entis Restoration, but I'm perfectly okay sacking a land and going and getting a bunch of lands. Inspiring Call is a really, really nice play here. You get to, all your creatures gain indestructible, and you get to draw a card for each creature with a 1/1 counter on it. More than likely going to be at least more than 3 or 4. Big draw, and gives all your creatures indestructible at instant speed. Dawn's Truce, one of the new cards from bloomburrow, another one I really, really like. Almost a Teferi's Protection, maybe not quite as powerful as Teferi's Protection, but cost 2, and then you can gift a card. Mutational Advantage, good stuff. Prevent all damage that would be dealt to those creatures this turn, and you get to proliferate, which increases all of our counters. Strict Serenades, and get a super weak covered. Artifacts. Arcane's Innet, Soul Ring, Collector's Cage is a sneaky play in this deck. So Hideaway 5, get to look at the top 5 cards of your deck there, and then you get to put one to the side and hide it away. Then 1 and tap, put a 1/1 counter on target creature control. Then if you control 3 or more creatures with different powers, you may play the exile card without paying its mana cost. That should be very, very easy. So you could potentially hide away for 5, go into something big, like one of our well, probably you wouldn't want to do a Hydra, but you would do like a Polychranus or a Gargoyle's Vicious Watcher, or your Saruk and Goreclaw, your Earthshaker Giant. I mean, lots of these other big creatures that are gonna, when they hit the board, are going to help you, and you don't have to pay their mana cost, so another free creature. When I played it, I did get an Earthshaker Giant to lay down. Unfortunately, wasn't able to win the game, but was able to swing with 4 creatures and doing 30 plus damage. Swiftfoot Boots, really nice. I like having a Helga. I could understand taking it out, but we want to keep our big mana dork Helga on the board. Elemental Palette. This is a new one for me, but one that I really wanted to add. Whenever you cast a spell with X in its mana cost, put 2 charge counters on Elementalist Palette. Tap, add 1 mana of any color. So it is at its base, it is a 3 cost any color mana rock, right? But if we care about X matters, then it's add colorless for each charge counter on Elementalist Palette. Spend this mana only to cast that contain X. So all of our things that contain X, we like. The Ozolith, if anything dies that has counters on it, move them around. We're good. Ozolith, I would say if you can afford getting an Ozolith would be a must add for this deck. It's just too good not to be included in counters matter decks. Garruk's Uprising, caring about big creatures is what we're doing here. So Garruk's is great, Hardened Scales is great, Up the Beanstalk is great, Branching Evolution great, Unnatural Growth great. All of these should be in your counters matter big creature Helga deck. I don't see why you wouldn't want to add any of these. Growing Rats of Itlimoc, another big mana producer. Flip it over, add green for each creature you control. We're gonna have quite a few creatures. I could see you not running this. Say if you wanted to make Helga more of your weapon and you didn't want a bunch of creatures. Itlimoc isn't necessarily incredible for this deck, but you are running a creatures matter, counters matter type of deck. So Itlimoc would be good. You're probably always going to tap it for at least 4 or 5 mana, which is always a plus. Unbound Flourishing, you definitely want this thing because it is going to win you a game, hopefully. Virtue of Loyalty, at the beginning of your end step, put a 1/1 counter on each creature control, untap those creatures, which is great. I can't tell you how great this card is in this deck because you get to untap Helga at the beginning of your end steps, which is super nice, especially if you want to get in something with flash after the fact. Court of Garenbrig is also incredible for this deck. At the beginning of your upkeep, distribute 2 1/1 counters among up to 2 target creatures. Then if you are the Monarch, double the number of 1/1 counters on each creature you control, which is just mwah. Chef's kiss. Gets a must add signal from me. Your lands. This is where I think you could pump this deck a little more than I have, but I think in this deck you probably don't need to go as crazy on an incredible mana base. You can get away with having just an okay mana base because your commander, as long as you're playing the deck right, taps for plenty of mana. I run 32 lands, 33 if we count Singing Stupor in the MDFC, Cloud Expanse, Sungrass Prairie, Yavimaya Coast, Lair of the Hydra, Oran Reef, Vastwood, got your plains, Tyrite Sanctum, adds some more counters, Botanical Sanctum, Gavany Township, adds a lot of counters. That's one I would say definitely add, put a 1/1 counter on each creature control for 4. We like that. Command Tower, Castle Garenbrig, another big one, spend 4, add 6 mana. We like that. Gate Pathway, Windswept Heath, Wooded Foothills to go with our forest, breeding pool, and a flooded strand. So we have a few big hitters, but I think you can get away with this deck not even having those. You'll notice that I don't have Talisman. I personally don't like Talisman that much. There's some people that really do. I'm not one of those people. All right, moving to our sideboard. Actually, Experiment Kraj is definitely an ad for me. So we took out that Capricorn or whatever. Experiment Kraj has all activated abilities of each other creature with a 1/1 counter on it. So basically, you're doubling up on the Helga trigger, which, thank the Lord. We love that. Tap, put a 1/1 counter on target creature. So Experiment Kraj, we love that. We are adding that to the main deck for sure. In a Psycha, creature control have Vigilance, tap, add 1 mana of any color, spend this mana only to cast a creature spell. Whenever you cast a creature spell, if 3 or more mana from creatures was spent, draw a card. So good stuff. It triggers Helga, makes all of our creatures mana dorks, and then it also lets us draw a card. And if I want to add it or not, I could see the positives for it. At the same time, there's a reason it's on my sideboard. I'm not for sure I want it. Riskard's Expertise is a really nice add for this deck. Draw cards equal to the greatest power among creatures you control, which could be one of your big Hydras, could more than likely be Helga. So you're probably going to be drawing 5 or more cards. You may cast a spell with mana value 5 or less from your hand without paying its mana cost. So slap this thing down, draw a bunch of cards, and then you get to play a card with mana value 5 or less from your hand without paying its mana cost. So that's the iffy thing. You're looking at 5 or less in a deck that has a lot of big creatures. That's why it's kind of on my sideboard. I think it is a nice add, and having all that draw power is really nice. And just thinking about the amount of draw power we have, a Reliquary Tower would also be a really good add to this deck, just so you don't have to worry about your hand size, because we don't have anything for recursion. Silkguard, put a 1/1 counter on each of up to X target creature control. Auras, enchantments, and modified creatures you control gain hexproof until end of turn. At instant speed, giving a bunch of our creatures hexproof is a nice little cast here. And you get to put a 1/1 counter on everything. So we like that as well. So that's another one I plan to add here soon in the future. And then Herald of the Secret Streams is one I need to go find in the wild. Creature control with 1/1 counters on them can't be blocked. Him by himself makes our commander very, very scary for other players if we're pumping Helga the entire game. We could easily make Helga our win con and swing with Helga for commander damage, which I just feel like that would be one of the biggest insults. You're gonna have a mana dork slap you for commander damage to lose the game. That I like. Innkeeper's Talent, another one I need to go buy. One of the best cards, I would say, from Bloomburrow, at least by price standard. At the beginning of combat on your turn, put a 1/1 counter on target creature you control. We like that. Level 2, permanents you control with counters on them have ward 1. Oh, we love that. If you would put 1 or more counters on permanent or player, put twice that many of each of those kinds of counters on that permanent or player instead. We adore this card. This is a card that you need to get in your deck. All in all, this deck comes out to $544. I think you could easily cut 100 or more, getting rid of the big lands you probably don't need. You could definitely cut like a Collector's Cage. If you can't afford an Ozolith, I understand. This could easily be a $150 to $200 deck just by getting Hydras and big creature matter cards and mana dorks. And then getting your ramp out early. You're running with Bant colors, so you have lots of options. You have all the counters you need. You can also make this much stronger, throw in a Cyclonic Rift, a Smothering Tithe, a bunch of those other big hitter cards that we like for blue, green, and white. But I feel like where this deck sits right now, it does its job. It does what our commander wants to do, which is care about big creatures, 1/1 counters, play some Hydras, and draw some cards. And then there's the added bonus of getting to gain some life. And Helga only cost 1 green, 1 white, 1 blue. That is an absolute win in my opinion. So that was our deck tech for Helga Skittish Hydras. What do you guys think? Do we like Helga? Is Helga just a kind of a fun commander? Are we building a lot of Helga? Or do we think there's a chance that Helga could be CEDH level? I don't know. But let me know in the comments below. I would love to hear your thoughts. So we built Helga Skittish Seer. I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave a like, subscribe, comment, do all that fun stuff. It really means a lot as I'm trying to grow the Infinity Rose YouTube channel. Please and thank you. We love you 3000. Check out our sponsors. I'll put them down below. All the different stuff. Jank Mats. We love Jank Mats over here. And yeah, I love you so much. I can't wait for you to check out this video. Can't wait to keep growing with you. Have a great day. Love you 3000. Bye.